you ask yourself, why don't martial arts work in a street fight? I mean, why don't traditional martial arts work in a street fight? And it's really, really simple. The easy answer is that none of these traditional martial arts actually spar or actually simulate actual conflict within the confines or with the right context of, like, emotionally, how are you feeling when you're fighting, right? You're not sitting in front, and this isn't a knock on Kung Fu, because I don't want Kung Fu practitioners to come on here and be leaving comments like, this guy's hating on traditional, hating on Tai Chi, and it's not that I'm hating, it's just that I'm saying, if you're sitting in front of a board and you're doing blocks on a stationary target, chances are, when the going gets rough and tough, as it inevitably will in a street fight, you're not going to be ready. You're going to be in a position where you freeze and you're not exactly ready for the emotional connotations. You're not ready for the, like I always tell you guys, the speed. There's a speed increase when you fight. Also, what happens when you get punched in your face? When you get punched in your face, what's going to happen? All that board blocking and katas, none of those things are gonna help you. So when I say martial arts don't work in a fight, and why martial arts don't work in a fight, it's because there's no realistic basis where those martial arts are tested in a real street fight scenario. And this is just the facts. This is just the facts. I'm gonna give you a quick example of what I mean. If you don't spar, let's say you don't spar, you're a person that's never sparred in their life before, but you consider yourself to be a Kung Fu practitioner or a traditional martial artist, and someone throws a punch at your face. You've never had a punch thrown in your face before, but someone finally throws a punch at your face. What do? Right? It's a scary thing. You're not used to making a punch miss by a quarter of an inch, right? You probably don't even know that you should make a guy miss by a quarter of an inch. You probably feel like the more he misses, the better off you are. But that's actually a false statement, right? If I slip a punch, for instance, and he misses by, let's say, a foot, is that good or bad? If you're a traditional martial artist watching this, would that be considered a good thing or a bad thing? If you're a traditional martial artist, you might say that's a good thing, further away from danger. But the truth is, you always want to make a guy miss by a quarter of an inch. Just by enough. Just enough to make him miss. So you're in position to what? Counter. Come back with your own shots. See, those are the things you develop through sparring. You can only develop that sort of reaction skill and that kind of split-second hand-eye coordination when you've been in those positions time and time again. You can't just manifest that ability from watching Kung Fu flicks or from going to the dojo and simply trying to inherit that from what your master's telling you. You have to earn it. It's just like we talked about in my previous video, the confidence video. Confidence is built, but it's earned. It's earned through hard work. Same thing applies to a traditional martial arts scenario where you've never been in a position where you've had to earn that ability. So you're not able to read punches correctly. You're not able to read situations where the guy feints you with an upper body strike, right? And then he throws a kick. Or where he feints an upper body strike, he lowers levels and goes for the takedown. You're not ready for any of those things, okay? Have you ever had your hand stripped down in front of you and elbows thrown at you? Never been there. So why I say this isn't a direct, I'm not trying to be salacious, I'm not trying to just get views here. I mean, views are great, but I'm actually saying something that I truly believe in. Traditional martial arts don't work in street fight scenarios, I'm sorry. And there's guys that I watch on here that are within my same genre that I have a lot of respect for, and you know, I'm not saying they wouldn't be able to defend themselves. A lot of those guys, I won't throw names out, are also jiu-jitsu black belts, have also trained in boxing, okay? So they're not pure Kung Fu martial artists. My argument is if you're a pure traditional martial arts trained person, if you're a person who only trains Kung Fu, let's say, I don't think you're gonna fare very well in a street fight. And I'm talking about a kid from Getty Square who's never trained in his life before, who has zero reference. He'll start doing an overhead situation and he'll probably knock out a Kung Fu guy because at least he's been in street fights where he knows how to deal with the emotional component. Just the Kung Fu guy, and especially the Tai Chi guy, those guys have no reference for a real scenario. So my simple message for this video, if you are a Kung Fu expert or you are a Tai Chi expert, I am in no way, you know, downing your art. I think it's a beautiful art. I think you guys have a lot going for you, and it's really almost a form of meditation. It's very beautiful stuff. Great for the head, I'm sure, too. Great for the health, for the body health as well. But when it comes to true self-defense, specifically in a street fighting scenario, I just don't think it's very useful. So what would be the solution to this? Because if I just came on here and I said, traditional martial arts don't work, now I'm telling you why it doesn't work. Subscribe. There's no value in that video. So what would be my solution? My solution, if you're a person, I mean, my students watch this, they're gonna be like, this is obvious. A person who trains jiu-jitsu or trains boxing and jiu-jitsu, This is 1997 knowledge. This is nothing new. This is basic knowledge. So what do you do? What do you do? What's the solution to the problem that I'm presenting? You gotta mix up your arts. You gotta mix up your disciplines. So if you're a traditional martial artist here, if you're a karate guy, if you're a pure boxer, if you're a pure jiu-jitsu guy, a lot of people like to box me as being a jiu-jitsu guy, even though I've trained across all disciplines for just as much time. But I'm okay with that because I compete in jiu-jitsu and I have an amazing instructor, and I love that. It's perfect. But don't get me twisted. I train across all disciplines, and I love all disciplines. My advice to you would be to train everything with equal enthusiasm. So train boxing. If you're just a boxer, you think you're gonna get away with just boxing? Until you run into a kid who's trained Greco and he gets an upper body tie and dumps you on your head, then it's a problem. You gotta train your jiu-jitsu. You gotta train your wrestling. And you maybe don't train separate wrestling, but you have to train a form of grappling, I should say. You have to train your boxing. That's gonna give you that subtle movement with your head, that subtle ability to gauge distance and footwork. That's important. And you gotta train your Muay Thai, okay? And I actually believe in training karate because I have started with karate and I still use blitz tactics and things like that in my own game, so I really do believe in it. But again, I only believe those traditional martial arts are effective if they're combined with other martial arts. I don't think that they're that effective alone. And that's not like a revolutionary thought. That was proven in 1998. That's like old knowledge. But again, I see stuff on YouTube now that I'm doing more self-defense videos. I'm noticing there's a lot of traditionalists that are still kind of in the closet about the reality, right? You know what I mean? They still think that fucking Tai Chi is gonna beat Jiu-Jitsu. Joe Rogan had a guy on a few years ago. The guy was convinced that Jiu-Jitsu would lose to Tai Chi. Like, he never saw UFC 1. He's never heard of Renzo Gracie before. So you gotta train everything, and this is gonna hurt a lot of you guys. A lot of my primary viewers, I know they're mad, I've been doing a lot of self-defense stuff, but a lot of you guys are pure Jiu-Jitsu guys, and you're gonna run into a scenario, and I train with a lot of guys who, they're badass Jiu-Jitsu guys, they're great competitors, but they're gonna run into a kid who wrestled a little in high school, who did a little boxing at the local PAL, and he's gonna f you up. He's gonna put the work on you, and it's gonna be embarrassing. It's gonna be embarrassing. So if you want to be effective at defending yourself, you gotta blend the arts. So if you'd like to learn some self-defense stuff that actually works, click the videos here. It's not like a kid. I don't mean to sound like that. I'm speaking the facts though. This stuff will work. If you want to learn how to grapple, this stuff definitely works. Like, this will definitely work. Subscribe if you haven't already, if you're new to the channel, and I'll be coming back with a bunch more videos this week. Thank you for tuning in.